Hello everyone and welcome to this week's game development log video diary, and this week I'm going to be adding a skybox and the sun into the game. So after the first day of programming, despite what it may look like, I have actually made some very good progress on the skybox. I programmed the skybox renderer and made a new shader program for the skybox, and what we've got now is a textured cube around the world that follows the camera wherever it goes. However, there are still many problems that I need to fix, one of course being the ridiculous image, but also the fog that I have in the distance now looks awful because it's not the same colour as the sky, and the day-night cycle looks a bit silly now that the sky is permanently blue. So tomorrow I'll go about making the sky a little bit more dynamic. Today I fixed the issue I was having with the fog, and I did this by adding a bit of code to the skybox shader that fades the bottom part of the skybox into the colour of the fog, so that objects and terrains in the distance can once again look like they disappear into the fog when they go outside the draw distance. As well as that, I'm using a slightly more realistic image for the sky, and I've also set the skybox to rotate to give the impression that the clouds are moving. Wednesday, and today I allowed for the sky to dynamically change its texture depending on the time of day. So at the moment, during the day, you can see that the same image as yesterday is being rendered, but as the day slowly turns into evening, you can see that the image starts to fade into a different image that looks more like a sunset. As well as the textures fading into each other, they can also now change colour slightly to better match the fog colour and to make it all a bit more dynamic and pleasing to the eye. So today I added one final feature to the skybox, which is that when it's very foggy, the skybox is now only slightly visible, or sometimes not at all visible when it's really foggy. So if we go over here, this is actually a pretty foggy area, and you can see the fog levels rising quickly. And as they do, the sky starts to fade away from view until it's completely hidden by the fog. It is Friday, and today I started work on adding the sun into the sky. So far I've got this beautiful self-made image of the sun rendered at the edge of the visible world in the position of where the sunlight is coming from, and it's rotated to make sure that it always faces the camera. So all that I've got left to do now is to make a proper texture for the sun, add in some alpha blending, and allow the sun to dynamically change colour at different times of the day. So finally this week I finished off the sun and played around with the skybox settings a bit to get the day and night cycle looking as lovely as possible, and you can see it in action here. The sun obviously looks a lot nicer now, and it also changes colour depending on how high in the sky it is, so it can be this lovely orangey red colour in the morning and evening, and a bit more of a bright white colour in the day. So yeah, a good week's work. I'm pretty happy with how it all turned out, and I think it makes the game look a lot nicer now. So that is it for this video. Next week I'm going to be adding water into the game, which will be wonderful. Also, as I said last time, I am now working full time on the game, so devlogs will almost always be weekly now, and the tutorial series that I mentioned last week will be starting very soon. But yeah, thank you guys very much for watching this video. Do subscribe if you haven't already. Have a brilliant week, and I will see you all next time.